Hey, peace and blessings to your family. Hope you're doing well. This is Zion. I want to share something with you. It's been sticking with me like glue, like gorilla glue, all day long, early in the mornings. And I'm going to continue to meditate on it. Um, Holy Spirit has a way of making scriptures jump out with neon bold lights in front of your face, compelling you to stop, shut down everything that you're doing, and let's talk. And it definitely blessed me. I'm going to share with you. Like it, comment, share with your people, share with your family. Let's get right into it. In Matthew chapter 20, beginning with verse 1, Jesus speaking to the people, speaking to his disciples. For the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of an estate who agreed to pay the normal daily wage and sent them out to work. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he was passing through the marketplace and saw some people standing around doing nothing. The King James Version says that they were standing around idle, doing nothing. So he hired them, telling them he would pay them whatever was right at the end of the day. At noon and again around 3 o'clock, he did the same thing. At 5 o'clock, that evening, he went into town again and saw more people standing around. And he asked them, "Why haven't you been working today?" Or as the King James Version, "Why are you idle?" And they replied, "Because no one hired us." The owner of the estate told them, "Then go out and join in the others in the vineyard." That evening he told the foreman to call the workers in and to pay them, beginning with the last workers first. Then those hired at 5 o'clock were paid. Each received a full day's wage. When those hired earlier came to get their pay, they assumed that they will receive more. But they too were paid a day's wage. When they received their pay, they protested. "Those people worked only 1 hour, and yet you've paid them just as much as you have paid us, who worked all day in the scorching heat." And he answered one of them, "Friend, I haven't been unfair. Didn't you agree to work all day for the usual wage? Take it and go. I wanted to pay this last worker the same as you. Is it against the law for me to do what I want with my money? Should you be angry because I am kind?" And in verse 16, "And so it is that many who are first now will be last then, and those who are last now will be first then. First shall be last, and the last shall be first." What's interesting about this, and it takes time to expound it, I'm going to try to take as much time as I possibly can, is that Jesus, he makes this striking parallel of the kingdom of God to a person who owns an estate, an orchard, a vineyard that has to be worked, because as the owner of that land, he wants to receive the harvest from that land, which is his investments. What is a land if it is not making you money? What is land if it is not producing anything of sustenance and substance? But he wasn't going to go out and do it. So therefore, he had to hire those who would do it, who would have his heart, who would have his mind in mind to do a job. And so he goes into the marketplace of many people. Just imagine going into a mall, going into a square, going uptown, and there are many different candidates hundreds, thousands of people just walking around. And he went at 12 noon. Well, actually, he went at 9 a.m. Then he came back at 12 noon. Then he came right back around at 3 o'clock and finally at 5 o'clock. In different time spans, this owner of the vineyard made a debut appearance to handpick and select those who apparently, as he put it, were idle. They were idle, doing nothing. Now let's take a look at what idle actually means, because the owner of the vineyard, or in this case, God himself, he asked a question. And it was a very profound question that deserved an answer. And the answer was just as profound as the question that was asked. And even though Jesus knew the answer, and God knows the ending from the beginning, he says that, why are you idle? And so idle means not working or active, unemployed, doing nothing, not spent or filled with activity, idle hours, not in use or operation, not kept busy, habitually doing nothing or avoiding work, lazy, of no real worth, importance, or significance, frivolous, vain, idle pleasures, meaningless, senseless, futile, to pass time doing nothing. So these are definitions of what idle means. And here, Jesus himself, you know what? I'm going to pick you. Doesn't seem like you're doing too much. How many times have we passed by a block? How many times have we passed by a street, a corner, and people just hanging out, drinking 40 ounces, maybe smoking a blunt, just idle? You know, maybe shooting some dice, idle. You know, maybe just boxing each other, just idle. And we turn up our nose at them and saying, you know what? This fool's walking around on the block, pants hanging down, look disgusting and disgraceful. Why don't you do something with your time, young man? Why don't you do something with your time, young lady? You look like a hoe out there on the corner, just spending idle time, just doing nothing, gossiping, doing nothing. But what about those individuals that make that statement, though it may be true, but when God puts our lives under a similar or the same microscope, he would find us idle too. In our cars, on our motorcycles, on our way to work, have a career but idle, upward mobility but idle, just got a promotion but idle, advancing your financial portfolio but idle, have more degrees behind your name than a black belt but still idle, on all types of auxiliaries and committees but idle, preaching around the world but idle, singing in such a way that angels come down and bow before you on the praise team but idle, running for office to be the next political candidate but idle. How much of our lives we're doing busy work, like Martha, who was busy in the kitchen, but not doing the best part in spending time with God, in becoming more like Christ. There's a difference between being productive and busy. And oftentimes the very people that we turn down our nose or look at with disdain and disgust, they're actually more productive than us. You know, Jesus selected these individuals, and metaphorically, this was the owner of the estate. And he asked them a profound question, both at 9 a.m., the morning of their lives, at noon, the noonday of their lives, at 3 p.m. or around 3 p.m., in the afternoon of their lives, and at 5 o'clock, the evening of their lives. A profound question. All were idle and wasting time. All were idle and unproductive. And what the world saw as being a disgrace and disgusting and unprofitable, Jesus said, these are people that I can use to work in my vineyard, to work for me, since I own the vineyard. And I will reward them, not as the world rewards them, but I will reward them righteously. And so he did. But these were people who were idle. And so we see that he asked a question. He said, why are you all standing around being unproductive? Why are you standing around just wasting time and wasting your life? Why are you standing around? Because just like he said that I see Nathaniel sitting under a fig tree. Oh, yeah, that's just Nathaniel. But when he caught up with him, he said, hey, man, I saw you earlier sitting under the fig tree. He said, you are a man without guile. You are a man that I can trust. And so what others saw as being distrustful, Christ saw as being trustful and not only available because they were idle, but useful once I can get them in my hands. Why are you so idle with all this talent, with all of your gifts, with all of this time? And God didn't make time for himself. God made time for the express purpose for us to operate in, because he's timeless, he's limitless, he's boundless. He doesn't need time. He doesn't need space. He's in Compton, California, and also in New Mexico. He's in Canada, but also in Zimbabwe. He's everywhere at the same time. We're the only ones that need time and to operate within our kingdom purpose and destiny between our birth date and our death date, that dash in the middle that justifies our existence on this planet for the glory of God and to advance his kingdom as we move and extend his kingdom. With all this you got going on, I don't understand. Why are y'all doing nothing? Why are you so idle? And the people responded, because no one hired us. No one saw value in us, an investment in us to hire us. Not all of us are lazy degenerates. Not all of us want to just waste our time and waste our lives. But no one believes in us. No one wants us. No one wants to receive us. Everywhere we go, we're constantly rejected. Everywhere we go, we're constantly being looked down and passed over and discarded. No one sees any real value or pricelessness in us. And by taking on that type of behavior every single day, we have taken on that mindset. So therefore, we have believed now the report that we're no good for nothing, that we're not priceless, that we have no real purpose. No one hired us. How many times have you been in a situation where you're just idle, stuck in life? Stuck because of a divorce. Can't get past it. Can't believe what she did to me. Can't believe the dirty things that dude did to me. And now I'm still trying to recover. Idle. How many times have you been there? Idle because of depression. Idle because of grief and sorrow. Idle because of injustice. Idle because of life's setbacks and life's knockout blows. How many times did it look like you were productive, but you were really busy, but just idle? Stuck in life. In church, worshiping God, praising God, but stuck, idle in life. Doing many wonderful things, actively involved in the community, which should be the case. Actively involved in other people's lives, making sure that you push them to their purpose and cheering them on into their destiny. Yet you have yet to walk in your own. Idle. Well, there's good news. There is good news. That out of all of the people that were in the marketplace, that Jesus could have selected. And maybe he did. Hey, why don't you come and I have something for you. I ain't got time. I gotta watch Atlanta Housewives. Man, I ain't got time. Man, I got things I got to do. I don't have time. I gotta watch Power. I ain't got time. I gotta watch Empire. I ain't got time, man. I gotta go over here, get this money. But those that said yes to him, they were destitute, didn't have much, didn't even believe in themselves. They were just merely existing. How many of you are just merely existing? Just going to work to pay bills? Still stuck in the past of what was perpetrated against you, what you had to go through from childhood to adulthood. Idle. When a car is idle, it means that it's going nowhere. It's running. You're still living. Your heart is still ticking. But there is no movement. There's no velocity. But the good news is, what God is saying is that he has selected you. He has selected you for such a time as this. He wants to take your gifts, your talents, your passion, your life, and breathe on it in such a way that you can move forward in life and have the fulfillment that you've been longing for. That you can walk in your passionate purpose as you have longed for. That you can truly have joy and not just happiness like you've longed for. That peace that you've been searching for, well, he's got it. Everything you've been looking for, he's got it. And all he needs is a yes from you. And from that yes, it will make you your best. And everybody around will be able to see God at work in you and through you. Peace and blessings. Let's stop being idle and making an idol out of being idle. And let's get moving. Let's get moving to prove our existence on this planetary plane for the glory of God. Love you to life.